Do you have a hyper child or a sensory seeker child? Do you have a child who climbs, who spins, who hangs, who goes like runs laps around you, who doesn't stay still, who for homework time is like you tell them 100 million times to stay seated, to finish their homework, to finish their eating. They shoot things, put things in their mouth. They throw, they bite, they put throw their bodies against things, against you. They bump into things. It's nuts. If that is you, stay because you have a sensory seeking child. And on this podcast episode, I am going to walk you through what sensory seeking needs are. What are what us as parents may believe when we see our children having sensory seeking behaviors, and how to support our children during their sensory seeking behaviors so they calm down a lot faster and quicker without us having to yell and snap or telling them that they're going to have a consequence. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Parenting with Understanding podcast. This is your host, Marcela Collier. I'm a certified parenting coach and founder of HIC Parenting Education Agency. My team of coaches and I have served 14,151 parents break free from reactivity and raise their children with a lot more peace and accountability. As well, I am a mom of a sensory seeking child. He's autistic and he's ADHD. He has inattentive type ADHD and he has hyperactive type ADHD. So his sensory seeking needs are up to the roof. And I have experienced not just supporting my clients with sensory seeking children, but as well as a parent, parenting a sensory seeking child. So stay because once you are done with this episode, you will know exactly how to support your sensory seeking child so they feel a lot calmer, so they feel a lot happier, and so you finally feel a lot more at peace raising your amazing sensory seeking child. Okay, so let's talk about what those sensory seeking needs are, then how we may view them as parents, and then I will break down different limiting beliefs that we may have and the reality about those, what's underneath those sensory seeking behaviors, and how to support our children. What is what is sensory seeking need? What is that? What is a sensory seeking need? A sensory seeker is a child who looks to have sensory stimulation to be regulated, to either regulate or to stay regulated. So if you have a child who spins, jumps, climbs, runs, goes in circles, pushes, slaps, throws their body against you or others, bumps into things, bumps into people. If you have that child, they're not doing it because they're rude or because they're hyper or because they're all over the place. They're doing all those behaviors to be regulated or to stay regulated. It's not that they won't stay still, is that they can't because they regulate their nervous system with movement, with sensory input. That's a sensory seeking child. And all of us have degrees of sensory seeking. Sometimes when we are too long seated, have you been seated for way too long? Maybe at church, maybe, I don't know, sitting through a conference, or maybe working in your computer, and you're like, oh, I need to stretch. I need to walk. I need to do something. You are having a sensory seeking need there. The thing is that children may have that sensory seeking need in a strong, they may feel it a lot stronger, and they might have it a lot more frequent, right? So it might be stronger and it may be a lot more frequent. They need movement to regulate their nervous system. Okay, So let's talk about different ways that we may view as parents our children's sensory seeking needs and the truth beneath it. The truth beneath it. But before we go there, if you've been listening the Parenting with Understanding podcast for a little while, and it has given you understanding of your children's needs, if it has given you information, inspiration, perhaps transformation, would you give us a positive review? Just open the description of this podcast episode, write your positive review, hopefully 5 star, and that will help us to get to more parents. Okay, so one thing that parents may see when they see their children having sensory seeking needs. Let's go through these beliefs and what's beneath it. I try to get my child to stay seated, to do homework or to eat, and they won't say stay still. They won't focus on their homework. They won't sit down, stay still, and focus on doing their homework or on eating. And why is this a limiting belief? Because remember what I said, sensory seekers need movement to regulate and to stay regulated. So a sensory seeking child does not focus staying still. A sensory seeking child does not focus sitting down, staying still. But the thing is that we fight against it. A lot of us parents, let me know if that's you. You feel like you're swimming against current all the time, empowering, struggling your sensory seeking child to get them to stop and sit down and finish their work, their homework assignment. You are fighting. If that's you, say yes, that's me in the comments if you're watching from YouTube, the podcast. But that is, we are fighting against our children's sensory seeking needs. It's not about fighting against them, it's working with them to meet them, to understand and meet their sensory seeking needs. So the reality is not that they need to sit down and to focus, they need movement to focus. Marcela, but how do I do this if they need to do homework? For example, my sensory seeking son, he has 20-minute reading assignment every single day. He needs to complete 20 minutes. I know if I sit him down to read a book for 20 minutes, I'm setting my sensory seeker up for failure. I need to incorporate movement in that very still activity. So he does his 20-minute reading assignment on our walking pad. Yes, he reads for 20 minutes on our walking pad. He stays focused the whole time, which is crazy. And he loves it. And at the same time, he's healthy because he's exercising. So win win. I need to drink water because I have a cold and my throat hurts. So that's important to understand their needs so we don't fight against them, but we meet them. If they need to write something, put a little stand-up chair, not chair, desk, a stand-up desk, and they could do their homework while they're standing up. My sensory seeker, they have piano lessons every single Monday, and the teacher was having a hard time getting him to sit down to play the piano for an hour until he had a great idea. Because I told him, hey, Santi has ADHD and he focuses best when he has movement and when he has a lot of breaks, just because he has inattentive type ADHD and hyperactive type ADHD. His amazing piano teacher listened to me carefully and he planned the next lesson in a way that met his needs. How did he do it? He went from, okay, let's sit down for a full hour and let's do our piano lesson, to we are going to have a break every 10 minutes. And every 10 minutes, we're going to do something. We're going to do some jumping jacks. We are going to go to the backyard and shoot some soccer for 2 minutes, and then we're going to come back. He accommodated him that way. It wasn't not my idea, it was his idea, the piano teacher's idea. And that was brilliant. My sensory seeking child has been having piano lessons the last 4 years without a problem with this method. The teacher comes, they do a 10-minute warm up in the piano, they break out of the staying still playing the piano, they do a sensory seeking thing, a sensory seeking activity, jumping jacks or something, then they go back to it. The twins do it together. I have twins, so they switch back and forth. It's not that the whole hour is he's with one of them and then he switches. No, he goes 10 minutes with one and then 10 minutes with the other and 10 minutes with the other. Like, since he got an understanding of my children's sensory seeking needs, he's been really good at planning the lessons in a way that meet those needs. And he hasn't had to tell them to focus anymore. He went from trying to get them to stay focused, to do the right thing, to get to the right note, to not move, to not look, to fully understand them and meet them where they're at. If you're like Marcela, it's so hard to stay regulated myself. I know they need movement. Now I understand, and it's kind of like an aha moment for me now, but it's been hard because it feels so draining for me to trying to help my children, especially when the meltdowns happen, especially when the tantrums happen. I have a hard time being composed. I understand and I see it and I see you. I used to be that parent too back in the day. And you know what helped me? What helped me was working towards understanding my own emotional regulation needs and meet them and becoming the secure parents that my children need. That's exactly how we help parents in HIC parenting. We help them break free from reactivity, with the snapping, the yelling, the reacting out of anger, and parenting their children with peace from the understanding of their needs. That's all we do in coaching. Here you're learning about your children's needs. In order for you to become a secure parent, it's important for you to understand your own needs and how to develop your emotional regulation skills so you can be a secure parent, break free from those reactive cycles, and bring peace to your parenting. For example, one of our clients, she's an Indian mom and she has a sensory seeking child. He's autistic. She was feeling so drained every single day managing his tantrums. Once she learned how to be a secure parent and break free from reactivity, her experience parenting her sensory seeking child was a lot better. This is her story.
I used to feel like I was struggling. And especially when my son was having tantrums, just like one after the next. And sometimes it would last like for more than a half an hour. And it used to feel draining because it's taking so much energy out of you to actually deal with him. And going through the program and realizing that, you work on you as a parent and understanding certain things and what would have been triggers that you may not even think of. It just helped me be better as a parent and just let him see me as a loving mommy. And since doing the program, it has helped me a lot.
And that was her. So, if you know that you need to work on yourself to break free from that reactive pattern, I have an invitation for you. I have a free class that this client and 14,151 clients took to learn 4 steps, 4 simple steps to break free out of reactive patterns so you can parent your children with peace and accountability with our Parenting with Understanding system of needs. You can find this free class on hicparenting.com. That's our website. I'm going to leave a card up here. If you're watching on YouTube, it's up here on the screen or in the description below if you're watching from YouTube. If you are listening from our podcast feed, from Spotify or any other podcast feed, just open the description of your podcast episode and the link to join us is there. And you are going to live with the exact steps that I taught this parent and many other parents to be secure parents for their children, to parent their children with peace and accountability. So, number two, my children are being rough on purpose. Are they really being rough on purpose? Remember, it's not a want, it's that they can't. They need to have that sensory stimulation to be regulated. So if your child is bumping into you or pushing sister or throwing their body against the cat or the toddler, it's not they are trying to be mean. It's not that they are rough. It's not that you're raising a non-empathetic child. It's that they feel dysregulated at the moment and they're looking to regulate their nervous system with that sensory seeking behavior. So what do you do in that case? What you do in that case is to offer that to them. Not that you're going to be their punching bag, but if they need if they need deep pressure, and if they need that tumble play to regulate, then you can provide that in many different ways. For example, at bedtime, my sons were having that sensory seeking behavior of tumble playing and going on top of each other until somebody was hurt. It was not even something that I wanted because they were riling each other up. I didn't want that. But instead of shutting down that behavior, instead of going against that sensory seeking need, I went with it and I looked for a strategy, a creative strategy to meet that need. If you are watching from YouTube, you can see right now I have in my hand a weighted stuffed animal. Let me rattle it so you can hear it. Okay, if you're just listening to the podcast, there is weight here on the butt area. Um, and then this is a weighted stuffed animal that helps children, sensory seeking ones, stay regulated, especially at bedtime when they get snuggly. Since I bought this, that tumble play at bedtime went away. We go to bed, they get in bed, and then they put their sensory stuffed animals on them. One of my twins, he goes on his belly and he likes to put his weighted stuffed animal on his back. The other one goes on his back and he puts his weighted stuffed animal on his belly. And it helps them so much to meet that deep pressure, sensory seeking behavior and need. And yeah, it's been a game changer. So it's not about going against their sensory seeking behaviors, it's going with it and meet that need. Meet that need. There is another one that is very common. I told my son or my daughter to stop jumping on the couch or to stop climbing the bookshelves or to stop climbing the counter, and they will stop. How do I get them to stop? So let's go back with it. Are we, when we are in that frame of mind of how do I get them to stop, are we going against their sensory seeking needs, or we're going with their sensory seeking needs? Yeah, right. We're going against them. Do you find yourself telling your child to stop doing something? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments. Let's share with each other the things that we say to our children. No judgment here. I say those things too. Yeah, I say those things too. I'm not perfect, and it is not that it is wrong. It is that we will engage into a power struggle a lot easier when we're going against our children's sensory seeking needs. So it is not that your child won't stop climbing on the chairs, on the couch, jumping on the bed, climbing on the bookshelves and stuff. Is that they are looking to meet their sensory seeking needs that way. So if your children are climbers, look to meet their climber needs differently. It could be buying a trampoline, or if you don't have, sometimes finances is a consideration, maybe creating a part, making it a part of their routine as sensory seeking breaks. I have that with my son. Every day after school, that's when his sensory seeking needs flare up even more. There is usually a time of the day that your child's sensory seeking needs flare up more. Let me know in the comments which one, what time of the day is it. And what I do is that I meet those needs. I meet those needs. We do the floor is lava on the floor. We do tickles. We do gentle tumble play, pillow fights, depending on how I see them, how sensory seeking I see them. We use their weight stuffed animals. So make it part of the routine. Observe them for 2 or 3 days, perhaps a week, and you will be able to see a pattern where when their sensory seeking needs are a lot more predominant, a lot more intense, and make a commitment to create a sensory break, a sensory seeking break, and make it part of their routine. It will make a difference. It will. If you have a bouncy child at bedtime, and bedtime is 3 hours, 4 hours, introducing a sensory seeking break right before you start the nighttime routine will make a big difference. You might say, "Hey, I don't have time." You're spending the time regardless. Right now, you might be spending the time in power struggle. So it's not about I don't have time. It's like you are a parent. You are investing that time regardless. So how are you going to invest it? Are you going to invest it in meeting their needs in a peaceful way, or power in struggling with them? That's just a question, a rhetorical question that I'm asking you. Answer it in your head or in the comments below if you're watching from YouTube. Create a sensory seeking routine. Maybe in the morning we wake up with jumping jacks, with wall push-ups. In the midday, maybe we use swings, pushing and pulling activities such as vacuuming. In the evening, we do deep pressure, weighted blanket, slow rocking, weighted stuffed animal activities. That's how to embed meeting our children's sensory seeking needs in the routine to calm them down fast and easy. If this podcast episode gave you understanding of your children's sensory seeking needs, if it gave you more perspective about your child and how to support them to be regulated and to be calmer and overall more secure and happier, that's the sign that this message cannot stay with you. Share it with a parent friend. More parents need to understand and hear that their children have needs. More parents deserve to have the understanding that you have now on how to have an easier time with their sensory children. Share it with one friend. Who would that be? Is it your coworker? Is it your sister-in-law? Is it the neighbor? Okay, stop what you're doing. Click the share button and send it to one friend who needs to hear this message. Remember that it only takes understanding of yourself and of your children's needs to transform your parenting. I'll see you next time.